Imagine leaving everything you know behind, your home, your friends, your country, and crossing an ocean that most people at the time believed could kill you. That is exactly what more than 100 English settlers did in 1587. They sailed across the Atlantic Ocean with one goal: to build a new life in a place called Roanoke, a small island located off the coast of what is now North Carolina. At first glance, Roanoke seemed promising. The island offered access to water, forests, and fertile land. For England, it represented something even greater: a chance to establish a permanent settlement in the New World. At the time, European powers were competing fiercely for influence across the globe. Spain had already established powerful colonies. England wanted to do the same. Roanoke was supposed to become the beginning of that dream. The colony was led by a man named John White. Unlike earlier expeditions, this group was not made up primarily of soldiers or explorers. These were ordinary people, families, farmers, craftsmen, men and women searching for a better future. Among them was John White's own daughter, Eleanor Dare. Shortly after arriving, Eleanor gave birth to a baby girl. Her name was Virginia Dare. She became the first English child born in North America. For the settlers, Virginia represented hope, a symbol that their colony might survive and grow. But despite the optimism, life on Roanoke quickly became difficult. The settlers struggled to find enough food. The environment was unfamiliar, the weather could be unpredictable, and relationships with local Native American tribes were complicated. Some tribes were friendly. Others viewed the newcomers with suspicion. As weeks passed, supplies became increasingly scarce. The colony desperately needed help from England. The settlers turned to John White. As governor, he faced a difficult decision. Someone had to return across the Atlantic and bring back food, tools, and reinforcements. White agreed to make the journey himself. Before leaving, he promised everyone that he would return as soon as possible. He hugged his family goodbye. He said farewell to friends, and he boarded a ship bound for England. None of the settlers knew it at the time, but this would be the last time many of them were ever seen. John White believed he would be gone for only a few months. Instead, fate had something else planned, and what happened next would create one of the greatest mysteries in American history. When John White arrived back in England, he immediately began gathering supplies for the colony. He planned to return as quickly as possible. But history had other plans. At the time, tensions between England and Spain were reaching a breaking point. The Spanish Armada threatened England's shores. Ships that could have carried supplies to Roanoke were instead being used for war. White pleaded for permission to return. Months passed, then years. Every day he worried about the colonists he had left behind, his daughter, his granddaughter, his friends, the people who depended on him. Yet there was nothing he could do. 3 years passed before White finally secured passage back across the Atlantic Ocean. By the time he approached Roanoke Island in 1590, he expected to see smoke rising from chimneys, children playing, families working, signs of life. Instead, he found silence. The colony was deserted. The settlers were gone. At first, White feared the worst. Perhaps the colony had been attacked. Perhaps disease had spread through the settlement. Perhaps starvation had claimed every life. But as he searched the area, something strange became clear. There were no bodies, no graves, no signs of violence, no evidence of a battle. It was as if more than 100 people had simply vanished. Then he discovered something carved into a wooden post. A single word: CROATOAN. Nearby, the letters CRO were carved into a tree. This discovery was important. Before leaving for England, White had agreed on a secret plan with the settlers. If they ever moved to another location, they would leave a message behind. And if they were forced to leave under danger, they would carve a cross alongside the message. But there was no cross, only the word CROATOAN. For a brief moment, White felt relief. Perhaps the settlers had survived. Perhaps they had relocated to CROATOAN Island where a friendly Native American tribe lived. But before he could investigate further, a powerful storm approached. The ship's captain refused to remain in the area. White begged them to continue searching, but his pleas were ignored. The ship turned around, and just like that, the opportunity was lost. John White never saw his family again. He never discovered what happened to the colonists, and the mystery of Roanoke was born. For more than 400 years, historians, archaeologists, and researchers have searched for answers. What happened to the lost colony of Roanoke? How could more than 100 people simply disappear without leaving behind a clear explanation? The first and most widely accepted theory is that the colonists joined the CROATOAN tribe. At first glance, this theory makes sense. The word CROATOAN was carved into a wooden post. There were no signs of violence, no evidence of a struggle, and no distress signal. Everything suggested that the settlers may have left voluntarily. The CROATOAN people were known to have friendly relations with English settlers. If food supplies became limited, joining a local tribe may have been the colonists' best chance of survival. Over the years, several reports appeared describing Native Americans, who seemed to possess European features. Some reportedly had gray eyes. Others were said to use English-style tools. While none of these reports can be fully verified, they have fueled speculation for centuries. Could the colonists have abandoned their English identity and become part of another culture? Many historians believe this is possible. But there is a problem. If the settlers joined the CROATOANs, why has no definitive evidence ever been discovered? Why has no settlement been found containing clear proof of their presence? And why did the mystery survive for more than 400 years? Another theory suggests that the colonists attempted to move inland. Life on Roanoke Island was difficult. Food was limited. Supplies were scarce, and survival was never guaranteed. Perhaps they believed a better location existed farther from the coast. Interestingly, modern researchers discovered something unusual on one of John White's maps. Hidden beneath a patch on the map was a symbol that appeared to indicate a possible fort farther inland. This discovery sparked excitement among historians. Could White have planned a second settlement? And if so, did the colonists relocate there after he left? Archaeologists began investigating the area. Several artifacts were discovered: pieces of pottery, tools, fragments connected to English settlers. Yet none of these discoveries provided a complete answer. The mystery remained. Another theory involves starvation and disease. Conditions in the New World were harsh. The settlers faced unfamiliar weather, dangerous conditions, and limited resources. A single failed harvest could have placed the entire colony at risk. Perhaps the settlers slowly died from hunger. Perhaps disease spread through the community. But this explanation raises another question. If everyone died, where are the bodies? Where are the graves? After centuries of searching, investigators still have not found convincing evidence of a mass burial site connected to the colony. Then there is the theory of conflict. Some researchers believe the colonists may have been attacked. Relations between settlers and Native American tribes were not always peaceful. Tensions existed throughout the region. Perhaps violence erupted after White left. Perhaps the settlers found themselves trapped in a conflict they could not escape. Yet once again, the evidence is missing. No battlefield has ever been discovered. No large collection of weapons. No signs of a massacre. The theory remains possible, but it remains unproven. Then there are the more mysterious explanations. Some historians believe Spanish forces may have destroyed the colony. At the time, Spain viewed English expansion as a threat. Secret attacks were not impossible. If Spanish soldiers encountered the settlement, they may have eliminated it. However, researchers have never found evidence supporting this claim. Others point to pirates. The Atlantic coast was dangerous. Pirates frequently targeted ships and coastal communities. Could they have attacked Roanoke? Again, there is little evidence, and because evidence is scarce, imagination often fills the gaps. Over the centuries, supernatural theories have emerged. Legends, curses, paranormal explanations, stories of entire communities vanishing under mysterious circumstances. While these theories capture attention, they remain speculation rather than fact. Perhaps the most fascinating aspect of the Roanoke mystery is that every theory answers some questions, but creates new ones. No explanation fits every piece of evidence. No theory solves every mystery. Even today, archaeologists continue searching. New technologies have allowed researchers to explore areas that previous generations could never reach. Ground-penetrating radar, satellite imaging, advanced excavation techniques. Each new discovery generates hope. Maybe this time the answer will finally be found. Maybe somewhere beneath the forests of North Carolina, hidden beneath centuries of earth and vegetation, lies the truth. But for now, the mystery remains unsolved. More than 400 years have passed. Empires have risen and fallen. Wars have been fought. Entire nations have changed. Yet the fate of the Lost Colony of Roanoke remains unknown. Over 100 people disappeared from history. No one knows where they went. No one knows how they survived. And no one knows what ultimately became of them. All that remains is a single word: CROATOAN, a clue, a message, or perhaps the final trace of a colony that vanished forever. What do you think happened to the Lost Colony of Roanoke? Did the settlers join the CROATOAN tribe? Did they move inland? Or is the truth something we have yet to discover? Let me know your theory in the comments below, and subscribe to Unknown Archives for more unsolved mysteries hidden within history.